Hello and welcome to Sports by Compian. My name, of course, is Stephen Compian, joined here by my ever-friendly, beautiful co-host, Dan Gill. How you doing over there, Dan?
You're doing great, buddy. It's always great to be on. We got some good topics lined up here.
Oh man, you look fucking phenomenal today. You got the old sunglasses, looking. You got the hat, man. If you had any more
You know,
style, I'm not sure we could allow it.
it was funny. I was looking at one of the old videos, and I realized that I haven't worn these pair in a while, so I figured I'd grab them and throw them on just for you.
Wow, that I feel extra special today. Then today, as Dan has alluded to, we have some fantastic topics. We're going to be discussing some of the XFL's opportunities to be expanding in the next 3 to 5 years. We believe The Rock has done some phenomenal work and will continue to grow this league. And as the league grows, there will be new cities, new teams, more players getting opportunities. Isn't that great, Dan?
It's what the whole vision's about. Player 54. Let's give more guys opportunities, and as we've talked about before, there's no minor league system, so this is basically the closest thing to it. I absolutely hate when people it's not the NFL. It's never designed to be the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
You don't walk into a minor league baseball or a minor league hockey game expecting them to be playing top tier ball.
Right.
These guys just need a place to play, and let's get that system going.
Absolutely. Well, let's hop on into it. First, we're going to go through each of us. We'll go ahead and talk about a couple of our cities that we think would be a good fit. I will start with my number one city I think absolutely should have a team, and that will be the state of Iowa. This is a state, Dan, that most professional sports seem to overlook for some reason. They have very few professional teams in general, although they are very loyal to their Iowa Hawkeyes, so I do think there's a market there. There has been talk that the college game doesn't always translate into the professional interest. But, I think the fact that Iowa just doesn't have that many teams in general would lead to there being more, interest for it. Obviously, they have a couple different cities there, but I think the Quad Cities is nice and close to Illinois, so they could draw a lot of attendance from Illinois as well. And I think that's a good spot for them to go ahead and expand into, over by East Dubuque or West Dubuque and that area in general.
Yeah, no, I mean, it would be a good playing partner to St. Louis and Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you could throw Seattle in there too. So, obviously, if they expand out any more, you're going to have to see a different arrangement of divisions and probably more than likely like a east to west, like two division type of format. So that could really help set up a clean division there.
Absolutely. And for my number two spot, we have Minnesota. So I think they should go up to the Twin Cities and go ahead and form another team there to back up the Vikings. Minnesota is a very cold state. Not a whole lot going on up there. I think people would love to go see some football played, and especially during this break when it's a little slightly better weather and such. So yeah, I think Minnesota could be a good market as well. As you mentioned, it would line up with those other markets we had just talked about, St. Louis and and such. So I think Minnesota could be a good pick as well.
For sure. Never naturally put it up there, but there's not a lot going on at that point in the year. You just have hockey, baseball hasn't exactly started, so there's room for entertainment.
And unlike Iowa, Minnesota does have a lot of other sports teams, so there will definitely be a little bit more competition. But I do think there's a lot of hungry football fans up there who would love to watch some XFL football.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, do you think they would play at the Vikings Stadium? Maybe play at the MLS stadium like the Defenders do? So
maybe the MLS to start with, right? Team? Maybe the MLS to start with.
But the XFL hasn't been afraid to throw someone in a NFL stadium. Seattle and St. Louis are in there, and Arlington or not Arlington, San Antonio is quite larger stadium compared to most. So, it's kind of weighing that balance of if you put them in the Vikings stadium, even though it's bigger, you probably won't sell it, but the climate control might help get those attendance numbers. Whereas you're outdoor in an MLS stadium, if you get some of those brutal, Minnesota Storms, is going to chase that attendance away.
For sure. And now headed out to the west, I think Arizona is another prime spot over there in the Phoenix area, which is just a phenomenal city from what I've heard. I think they could use some backup for the Cardinals over there. So go ahead and send them a team out there as well, someone to have the Cardinals to be able to have a nice, easy look at. I think the Phoenix fans are hungry for a winner. The Cardinals haven't exactly produced a Super Bowl, and I don't think ever. Have they ever won a Super Bowl? So who knows? Maybe you start with an XFL ball and take it from there, because I don't think Kyle Murray's going to deliver a Super Bowl, Dan. I just don't think it's going to happen.
More than likely. I mean, yeah, I mean, that was one of the AAF cities that they had. They had their ups, their downs. I mean, I think they were averaging just under 10,000 per game. And they were playing at the Sun Devil Stadium, the Arizona States, which is where the Cardinals actually used to play when they first, I think, went over. But, I think that could be a pretty viable option for them. I think it's actually in Tempe, not Phoenix. But, I think that could be a good venue for them. For its college spec on a Pac, whatever they're calling themselves now, Pac-12, Pac-10,
Yeah, Pac-12.
Everybody's leaving. Yeah,
everyone's bailing out of the Pac-12 though, right, and headed over to the Big Ten.
Yeah. So, but no, I think that could be a good venue for them. I think there is interest for another level out there
for sure.
And we don't really have any West Coast teams in the XFL.
Not really,
other than the anomaly of Seattle.
Right.
So that could definitely give us a good presence over there.
Staying over on the West Coast, I think Oregon would be another place prime for the picking. You could draw a lot of fans from California, a lot of fans from Washington, and give some people something to watch. Obviously, you got all those Midwestern states. You got Montana, the Dakotas, all those guys could potentially be a fan of the Oregon team. So a lot of places to draw fans from. Oregon only really has that college team. I don't think they have too many professional teams other than that. I think they got like a baseball team and such, right?
Yeah, they have minor league baseball there, but I mean, much like Iowa, like you said, it's often forgotten when it comes to pro sports. They do have an NBA franchise,
right?
In Portland, but I mean, aside from that, yeah, they don't really have a lot of the pro level. Actually, sorry, they do have an MLS franchise as well. I apologize, but but still often overlooked when it comes to the majority of pro sports. So, that could give them a great alternative, especially once Oregon and Oregon State seasons are done, because that often happens early.
Right. And another one, just to consider, and obviously not the best one, but I think Georgia could potentially work out. They do obviously have the Falcons already. They got their Georgia Bulldogs. They're very loyal down there. Will the fans want to go see that? We're sort of questioning that after the attendance that the Stallions have been seeing. But who knows? Maybe these Georgians will buy in if it's the right thing, if they start winning or something.
Yeah, no, I mean, we were kind of talking about that before we came on. With Birmingham over in Alabama, like you would think. You have Alabama and Auburn. They're such devout fan bases that you would expect Birmingham to do better, the Stallions to do better.
Right.
But it's really a hit or miss in some of these like true college hotbeds that you see stadiums pack 80, 90 to 100,000 into their stadium, but yet when you throw technically a higher level of football in there, it just doesn't follow. So don't know where that goes. I mean, I get that it's different,
right?
School loyalty and stuff like that, but
of course,
you would still expect, like, a lot of these people do territorial drafts, so you're drafting former, Bulldogs, former Georgia Tech guys,
exactly,
Auburn, Alabama. So you'd think there's people who want to come out and see them, but that's not always the case.
Well, I guess it's up for debate. A little off-topic question here for you. Do you think that Alabama could beat the Stallions? I bet they would.
Oh, yeah.
I think they could probably beat the Stallions for sure.
I mean, I'll go out on a limb and say you could probably take the Browns from the mid-2000s into the 2010s, and Bama probably could have beat them.
Yeah, you're probably right about that. Bama is an absolutely scary program.
Yeah, they are, but you know what I love is, I mean, Tua's starting to be the anomaly of it, but we always joked that for as dominant as their quarterbacks were in college, they could not do a single thing.
Dude,
I mean,
let's go through the list. They had Greg McElroy, didn't work out. They had Agent McCarron, who maybe he's going to bounce back, but hasn't really worked out.
Yeah.
I could go on here, but yeah, they have not had successful quarterbacks coming out of Alabama so far. And honestly, Tua still has some stuff to prove in my eyes.
No, for sure. I think he's had a better start than most,
Yeah.
in the last 40 years. I mean,
Obviously,
we were
Bryce
going
Young
back to
too.
that. Bryce Young, yeah. I mean, we'll see. Yeah. Um, but we were talking about, like, aside from Namath and Starr, like, name any other quarterbacks that came out of Alabama. And
Yeah,
I mean, that was a long time ago. So
for sure.
kind of funny to look at there.
That is pretty interesting. Yeah, I wonder what it is. I guess it's the system thing over down there.
I mean, hey, mate, sometimes that is.
Yep, that is sometimes the case. Well, Dan, what
I
do
mean,
you
look
think?
at yeah, no. So I have four on my side. One that puzzled me, and we've talked about this before when the XFL did their reshuffle. Uh, they took Tampa Vipers, moved them to Vegas, and then got rid of Los Angeles and basically replaced them with San Antonio. So to me, put Los Angeles back in it. One, it's just a good market to have. There's a lot of money to be had there. Their
Yeah,
attendance in 20, I mean, they're going to play at the same venue that they did. It's like the Dignity Health Sports Park thing where the Chargers had played while they were waiting for the stadium to be built as well. But when they played there, I mean, they were just over 13,000 average attendance. That's
that's pretty good.
that's really good. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's really good for them. They were about mid-pack for 2020 attendance in the XFL. So to me, I mean, I'm sure there's disagreements on the lease and maybe scheduling conflicts to why it didn't work, but there's a lot of money to be had in Los Angeles. I get that they have two football teams, they have two baseball teams, a hockey team, two
yeah,
basketball teams. You name it, they got it.
right.
But to me, if you want to build a West Coast division,
Gotta have a
you have to have a
California
team.
team. You have to have a California
You
team.
have to, not only California. I think you just need Los Angeles itself,
Yeah,
because the exposure you're going to get these high end people attending these games, hopefully, and that helps lend a bit of credibility to
absolutely.
it. But I think, and then, again, it just goes back to you did over 13,000 in average attendance. I get that doesn't sound like a lot, but I mean, look at a lot of these venues that
Well,
we were looking at all year. They weren't getting anywhere near that. I
yeah.
think Seattle was like 10. Now, granted, in 2020, Seattle was like 20, but they dropped down to like about 10. So, where's that to be had? Everybody can't be St. Louis.
And what's crazy is that these numbers sound really low, but when you compare it to the MLR, where Utah sold out at under 5,000 people, so it's
Yeah.
like they're doubling whatever the MLR is doing, and that's like considered lower attendance. So
Well,
definitely
yeah,
market,
man.
definitely some money to be had.
I mean, I'm going to get to a place that the MLR has done well in a minute, in San Diego, but the Legion set the record for attendance for any MLR game ever. It was just over 10,000 this year, and I think that was round one. So, like, if 10,000 is their high point, and the bottom of the XFL is 10,000, like, that's not a bad image, especially with what we've been seeing in the USFL as well.
Yeah,
So, like, don't shy away from 13,000. Like, it's a good market. I think you put them back in there, rehash it, and let's see where it goes.
for sure.
But leading into my next one, as I mentioned, San Diego. You and I love talking about this one, especially after what we've seen in St. Louis. Now, obviously, I don't think they're going to be pulling what St. Louis did, but who knows? I could be wrong. But they just built that new stadium out there on the grounds of the old Qualcomm Stadium. So Snapdragon Stadium holds 35,000. I don't know what the expandable is, but the San Diego Legion have been playing there. They do close to 10,000, so that's promising. The Aztecs have had good turnouts in their football games there. So when the AAF was there in 2019, they were doing about just over 19,000 per game
Well, that's a
for an
lot.
average attendance, and that was at Qualcomm, not Snapdragon. So you're doing a little over half capacity of the venue. So I think that could be a strong market, especially if you put the team in Los Angeles. You have Seattle. Like I get that you're copying like the NFC West a little bit,
Yeah.
but maybe throw St. Louis in it and get old school NFC West there.
Yeah.
But I think you'll set a nice playing partners in there as well.
For sure.
So I think that's a viable market for them. Because aside from baseball, there's not really much to do in the summertime, springtime, for San Diego.
Yeah, and they're probably
I
still
don't
bitter
know.
about losing the Chargers, so I'm sure they would embrace a new football team.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think that probably is what drove that, much like in St. Louis, what drove that, relatively better attended average compared to most cities.
Right.
Now, because if you look at what the XFL added in 23, they added San Antonio, they added Orlando. Those are the top two average attendance for the AAF. So I don't think that was done by any mistake. I think that was 100% on purpose. So
for sure,
I think they should have looked a little lower, but I don't know if Snapdragon would have been ready in time for the 23 season. So maybe that's why they didn't venture down there. This one, I did a little bit of digging, and I was trying to remember it. We had, I believe, on the last show, we talked about the UFL, the United Football League, from back in like the late 2000s, early 2010s. That lasted, I think, about 3 or 4 seasons. But they had a team up in Hartford, Connecticut, that played at the University of Connecticut, did about a little over 14,000 a game.
Wow.
So I think, yeah, surprising. The New England fan base area is very passionate and devoted. So I think that they could do their, build something with DC, kind of pull them in that corridor. It's unfortunate that the USFL has Pittsburgh, Jersey, and Philly, because that could make a really interesting little corridor there if they were all together.
Yeah.
Does the XFL try to venture back into New York? I don't know. Right now, we haven't really seen them being the USFL and XFL trying to compete in the same markets. I know that there is 2 Houston teams, but one plays in Houston and one plays in Memphis. So I don't really hold weight to that. They just carry the Houston name.
Yeah.
So I think we'll have to wait and see on that. So because that's where the Guardians were in 2020. They were in New York. They played at MetLife, and then they moved to Orlando. So maybe it's worth putting a team back up there. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I think if you're going to try to build a division of itself, DC could be the bottom of like a Northeast division, I think.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Do you have any
other? My last one, I think this was only 100% a stretch, is Oakland. The biggest issue is they don't have a place to play. Because I know you don't follow baseball, but the Athletics have bought land in Vegas. I think in the next 2-3 years, their new stadium should be open. The Warriors moved out of the arena that shared the grounds with the Coliseum. So I think once the Athletics go, I wouldn't be surprised if the Coliseum gets demolished. So that really doesn't leave anywhere in Oakland. I mean, I researched as much as I could find, aside from playing at like some D2, D3 college stadium where you're sitting on wood bleachers for like 2,000 people. It might somehow actually be worse than the Vegas stadium option. But maybe now in the original XFL, they did play in San Francisco, so maybe you could bump them over to San Francisco. They played at the Giants baseball stadium. I don't know how realistic that is, though. Trying to share that, especially leading into a baseball season.
Yeah.
Where we see 3 weeks of the XFL schedule bleed into the beginning of the baseball schedule.
Yeah.
So I don't know how open they're going to be to that now compared to them. So maybe we can find a different option there. I don't know if you throw them at Levi Stadium with the 49ers. Again, one of those larger venues. It's risky. A lot of money involved.
Right.
But I think also if you put them down there, you kind of lose the lure of trying to capture that Oakland market because you're hitting a completely different demographic at that point.
Definitely. Yeah, California is huge, so there's lots of opportunities there for them to expand in one of those 3 cities. The XFL should absolutely look at that. You're not wrong.
So, question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Not that you often get asked questions in these. Like next 3 to 5. I mean, do you think they try to ride the format they're in now to get to like year 3, year 5, like not 3 to 5 years from now, but like take 2020, 2022. So we're heading theoretically into year 3. If we want to play it that way, like when do you think they should start making these moves?
I think they should expand to a couple of new teams right away. I think it doesn't hurt. More teams, more exposure. So it's a good idea. You're going to catch more people paying attention to it. I think they should make the move sooner than later. Obviously, I'm not the finance guy. I have no idea what their numbers are looking at or how that would work. But yeah, in my opinion, you obviously should be out there trying to expand sooner than later. And I'm sure we're going to get to this, Dan, but shouldn't the USFL and XFL just combined? You know?
Yeah, no, you and I have floated that in many shows, um, and I'm actually working on a hypothetical division layout.
Okay.
If that were to happen, obviously, as we've talked about, there are 2 Houston teams. I think you send the Gamblers to Tampa
Yeah.
and call it a day. But I mean, that seems to be the general consensus in a lot of other talk shows that I watch.
Yeah.
That they're like at the end of the day, look, both of these can do fairly well on their own,
Right.
but if they really want to turn it into this minor league system, this consistent force, like they're gonna have to merge. Like, so maybe you bump the season back a couple weeks for the XFL. So it starts later, ends a little later. You're not exactly running the full USFL time frame, but they merge. There's 16 teams right off the bat. I mean, my only concern is you're still very East Coast to Mid America heavy. You
Yeah.
still don't have that West Coast presence.
Yeah.
So that's where
Neither league has it.
no, neither. So that's where it's like, sure you merge, but how many can you actually keep in the markets that you have, and how many are you gonna have to move somewhere else? I don't know. I think for that to actually happen, though, the USFL has to do at least 3 years of playing in their actual city, and I've yet to hear any indication that next year they'll do it. Like as far as I'm concerned, they're gonna stick with the 4 host cities that host 2 teams each. Um,
So
it just
weird.
makes it a very yeah. I mean, I get it I 100% understand for COVID year. You got your season in, everybody played in one city. It was easy to manage that way. But to me, there was no reason that every team couldn't have broken out to their host city or the team that their city representing. And you know what? So what? Maybe there might have been a team or two that couldn't have, but there's no reason that 6 of the 8 teams couldn't be playing in their respective city. Like maybe Houston could be a problem. So you leave them in Memphis. Maybe Pittsburgh couldn't get it home, so you could park them in Philly. But like, you get the point. Like the
Yeah.
fact that they could only go to 4 is to me unacceptable and beyond it. That's where the XFL, if you take what's on the field out of the equation, I think it's setting the XFL up for expansion a lot better because they've really figured out how to capture those markets.
Yeah. No, the XFL seems to be doing like you said. Take the field aside, they do seem to be doing better with their marketing overall, with their aesthetics, the way the league looks in general. Like USFL is going into their second full season, and I think more people know about XFL teams than they know about USFL teams.
No, I don't disagree at all there. And the funny part is like they do have the USFL does have favorable TV contracts being tied to NBC and Fox. So they're getting the over-the-air presence much like an NFL level, but so they're on FS1, USA, all that stuff as well. But yeah, like they don't. I just feel like you don't hear them talking about it on ESPN like they did. Sure, ESPN was a carrying partner of the USFL, or sorry, the XFL. So I'm sure there was something in their deal there, but why wouldn't the NBC Fox heads want to make sure that the ESPN is covering them or, all the other talk shows. I don't know. So it's a tough thing to grow when no one's talking about you.
This is true. This is true. Well, Dan, we're going to go ahead and wrap up here this expansion episode, talking expansion cities and expansion teams. Do you have anything you would like to say to the people before we head on out of here? Any final thoughts?
Yeah, no, just be ready when the team shows up to your city. Come out and support it.
Absolutely.
I know from going to the DC Defender games, they're some of the most fun I've had at sporting events.
Can't agree.
It's just the atmosphere is phenomenal. Maybe, Steven, you can be the new official Battle Hawk guy for next year. Get the full guard. Maybe you and Taylor can go.
Heck yeah.
Be like the Hawk Brothers or something. I don't know.
Let's do it.
Battle Bros.
Battle Bros. Now we're talking.
Get customized jerseys and everything.
Heck yeah.
But, when DC comes to town, I will have to show up with you guys. But
absolutely.
No, I think, even if you're a USFL city now, go support it, even if it's not the home team playing, because, it makes it a tough product to watch. Honestly, it sounds terrible that I struggle to watch the game sometimes when they keep flashing to the stands and half of it starved off, and then it looks like there's about 50 people in the stands.
Exactly.
It makes it tough to watch, but go out, watch, support the product, understand it is what it is. And I don't mean that in a bad way. You're not going to a Packers-Bears game. You're going to some guys trying to make it to that level.
Exactly. And honestly, like you mentioned, going to live sporting events is a great time. Like, especially something like football or MLR that we cover a lot. Like, come on, man. This is fun sports to watch. What else are you going to do? Go watch a baseball game? Don't be silly. Go support your local USFL teams. Go support your MLR teams, This is fun teams to be watching.
And the thing is, everybody's always about getting affordable entertainment, and these leagues are all very affordable. For families, for friends, for whatever, yeah. Very affordable.
$40 tickets for MLR.
Uh-huh.
$40 tickets for MLR. I have season tickets to the Hounds, but I bought my dad a ticket this last game. $40. Like, come on.
That's a steal. Yeah, no, I have buddies and I that are looking into buying DC Defender season tickets next year. And I think, it was going to cost us about $30 a game is what it would break out to be. So, for 5 games.
Yeah.
That's a steal.
It's a steal. I got the season ticket pass. I paid $300 for it. And they're supposed to give me a hat, which didn't end up happening, but I did miss a couple games where they might have been handing them out. I missed a couple games. I'm sure it would have been even less if I would have shown up to every single one of them. But they gave me a parking pass. There was a hat included. I had great seats. We're literally right behind the Chicago bench, and I get to hear Will Durling just absolutely giving it to the Chicago coach all game. So it's just fun to time.
Absolutely.
Well, I will go ahead and leave you guys with a final thought here. I recently was listening to a metal song about the Halo Effect. Fantastic band. The lead singer from Dark Tranquility now has a project band. I'm going to go see him live actually on Sunday at Metal Fest there in Milwaukee. Should be a really good time. But there's a song in there of the path of fierce resistance. And there's a line that says, trapped in somebody else's game. I think we all feel like that from time to time, I know I feel like that maybe a lot more than time to time. But yeah, if you're out there feeling like you're trapped in somebody else's game, find a way to change it up. Find a way to make something different. Because, this older generation is eventually going to move on, Dan. They're eventually going to move on. And it's going to be on us to form the new world. So start doing it now while you're young. Start finding out what are your things that you care about. What are your principles? What are your morals? What are your standards for life? And form your own game. Even though you may be trapped in somebody else's game now, slowly but surely start working on your own game. Sports by Compion, out!